Hey, this is Tyler with TJX Survival. We're out filming today. We're filming an urban gray man get home scenario. I'm here with Crystal.
Hey, and we're going to teach you the necessary steps to deal with a situation like this. Stay tuned.
All right, so you're downtown, you're eating your lunch, and an event happens. Now, with that event, you may...
Burger.
So you're downtown, slamming your face full of burger, and an event happens. Now, when that event happens, it could be anything from an earthquake to an EMP, but the question is, what do you do next? Now, essentially, I got to use what I've got on my person. On my person, I've got a lot of stuff in my pockets of my jacket. I've got a good pair of boots on. This is the type of stuff that I wear around normally. However, I may not have all of this nice kit on. I might have horribly bad hiking shoes like Crystal here.
That's right. I got on some cute shoes so that I can look pretty, but not great for running through the woods and stuff like that, trying to get back home. Tyler can get away with his get up because he's a guy. He can dress more tactical. Whereas I cannot, as a female, usually get away with that. I have to go to work, to an office. I usually maybe will wear high heels or something like that. So you got to think about those things when you're thinking about what you want in your car or in your office to take with you on a bug out.
All right, so initially what we have done is we've got a little bit of kit on our person, a knife, a phone. I have a rechargeable device in here that's connected to my phone, so I can go for a while with communications, and I have security in the form of my pistol. So I have that. That will get us back to the truck after the initiation of an event, and once we get to the truck, then we can get to our larger amounts of kit, so we're doing this in layers, which will then give us the ability to go home on foot, because like I said, either an EMP's happen, it shuts down the vehicles, or the earthquakes happen that's destroyed the roads enough that you can't drive home. Obviously, driving home would be the best answer, but if you can't, what do you do next?
All right, so we talked about how Tyler wears this on a normal day-to-day basis, and I wear this. So there's two things that I really want you guys to think about. It's footwear and something to keep you from the elements. So I always keep a pair of sneakers in my car in case my footwear won't get me back to where I need to go. And I always keep something like a jacket in my car along with my bug out bag, so I'm always prepared for different weather conditions.
Because I already have boots on. If I ever go anywhere for a long term where I'm wearing sandals or something, I will throw boots in with my jacket in another bag. We call it a turnout bag. Inside the turnout bag, I'm going to have warm clothing, socks, boots, so I can put that on my body and then grab my bug out bag or my get home bag and then just go. This is what I've got right here. This bag is a Grey Ghost Apparition bag. I use it because it's a great way to carry a rifle, and it looks very urban appropriate, minus a couple of additives and stuff that I've done to it. I also have a little chest bag that I'm going to grab that I like to keep right here so I can have my kit up here in front.
All right, so we're in our urban situation. The first thing we got to consider is that an average person walks about 3 miles per hour. So an average person on a good day will move about 20 miles per 8 hours. So that's a full day's worth of walking. And if it's the sun's going down like it is behind me and Tyler right now, you have to consider the fact that you're gonna have to find a place to bed down, because you probably won't want to be walking around at night, causes security problems and things like that. So you gotta find yourself a shelter, and you gotta find a good place to keep the weather off.
Be ingenuitive. So if I'm gonna look around where I've got here, I just walked past a big briar patch. So So if we go back to that briar patch a little bit, one thing that I can do is I can embed myself down inside of that, wrap myself up in a poncho and a poncho liner that's green camouflage, make sure that I'm covered up completely, snuggle up right against that fence, and that gives me security, because if you can't see me, then I'm less likely to be harassed by people trying to take things from me or cops moving me forward. So if I look at this patch right here, and I just kind of bust my way in, even in an urban environment, you have a lot of dogs and raccoons and stuff that will use these as pathways where they can move through. So basically what I would do is just wrap myself up in my poncho liner, squeeze myself right down inside there, and spend the night. So right here is another perfect example of a shelter. You can kind of tuck back in behind these brush, and unless I'm standing right here looking down inside of it, you're not gonna see me. So essentially what I'm gonna do is move in there, and I will cover myself up with this army poncho that I have in the back of my bag, and show you how easily I can hide myself in an urban environment along the side of the building. So basically what I would do is just wrap myself up in my poncho liner, squeeze myself right down inside there, and spend the night. Now, I use the poncho for the water stoppage and the poncho liner to keep me insulated. It's not gonna be a fun night, but if you get in there deep enough, no one's gonna see you, and they're gonna leave you alone until tomorrow, and you get a secure rest or a full night's sleep. That's extremely important. Okay. Another thing that you can do in an urban environment is if you find an abandoned car, be careful where you find it. If it's an abandoned car in front of someone's house, probably not really abandoned. But if you get something like this, we're out behind an industrial area, the tire's flat, the window's busted out, it's got some just trash and stuff, you can tell the weather's been beating down on this for a while. This may be a really smart place to spend the night.
Another great place you can scout out to stay behind something like this will give you a wind break, which is great. Wind is one of the #1 factors for being out in the elements to make you cold, get you in a hypothermic state. So staying behind something is a great idea. If you have in your bug out bag a poncho liner, you could string that from the fence down or from the building down and make yourself a great shelter to keep the rain off and do things like that. That's a great way to stay out of the elements and out of view from other people that are going to try to find you.
One other thing that you need to keep into consideration is there's a lot of homeless people that are going to be doing the same thing that you're doing, and if it's a big disaster, all the normal people are going to be doing that as well. So think like a homeless man, but also be careful of the homeless people. As you can see, there's a whole pile of clothes here behind this building, and I don't know where this is here. I didn't leave it here. We're just finding this. Essentially, this looks like someone's stash. They may come back here and change their clothes and go do the things that they're gonna do. That means someone's here. That means this is probably not the best place for me to bed down tonight. A long time ago, I worked as a probation officer, so I dealt with a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of people with psychological disorders and drug dependencies. And this is a perfect example of what you will see when you have homeless people bedding down for the night. They use a lot of this cardboard in order to create insulation off the ground. You can see a sleeping bag out there, and you see blankets and pillows. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll steal the blankets and the pillows from a local RC Willey or some sort of local store, and they'll take them out and then spend the night in them and discard them each day. So if you see this kind of stuff, you can use it if you find it, but be careful. Somebody left it here, they may want it back. You may run into them in the middle of the night. So either have security where someone stays up half of the night, someone else stays up the other half of the night, or just don't bed down in a place like this. So a little bit about security. I always have a pistol on me. I have my concealed weapons permit, and I also have a long gun in this bag. This is the Gray Ghost Apparition bag. Gives me the ability to keep a 10-inch SBR in my backpack. So the thing with security is this. You need quick access to the pistol, but you don't want to look like you even have it. I've purposely dressed this way to blend in as much as I can. This little bag's a little more tactical than I would like, but it's kind of this balance. I don't want to look full gray man or full tactical. I need to be situationally appropriate. The concept of gray man is this. It came from the background noise in the ocean that these submariners used to have. So essentially they would have static, all right? Static is black and white fizzing along. If you're a black blip, you stick out. You're so silent that they can't hear anything coming from you, that sticks out. That's kind of like walking around downtown in full camouflage. You're so camouflaged that you stick out. That's a problem. Then there's white man, which is incredibly open or flamboyant colors, bright yellow neon stuff. You're so bright that you stick out. The idea is to be gray, somewhere between black and white. So I don't have tactical looking equipment, but I do have tactical equipment. She looks very appropriate for maybe being downtown. So that would be a good gray man example. I do argue, however, there are some instances where you still want to bring that black man approach to it by having a camouflage army poncho so that you can hide in the trees, having green in the color of your gray man stuff so that you're still camouflaged when you move from an urban environment into a more brush type of environment.
And that's something that you're going to have to consider depending on your situation. Each person's going to be different. Tyler can walk around in this and he looks great. I maybe can't get away with that. I maybe blend in more with what I'm wearing here, but I can add things to my outfit that are going to get the job done, like my scarf and things like that. So the gray man is really situation dependent.
All right, and then last thing on that note, don't wear super new trendy things. If you have really trendy looking things, they stick out. Wear stuff that's just plain or bland and doesn't quite stick out as much. This backpack is a perfect example of that. It's gray and it's green, and it was actually built for a gray man type of scenario, and it's a very tactical bag, which we'll show you a little bit later on. So a little bit about urban water. Water, no matter where you're at, water, no matter where you're at, is a battle of probabilities, okay? We have to think about what's in the water that can hurt us and what we need to remove from it. This is a mud puddle, okay? The probability of some animal that has Giardia pooping in this mud puddle is really, really low. However, the probability of me having oil or diesel or some other chemical is really, really high. So what I need to use is a filter that has charcoal in it, or carbon, so that it can remove the chemicals over a filter that's going to remove a biological contaminant. I'm not telling you to drink out of this puddle, but if you're about ready to die from dehydration, there's a high probability that you can drink out of this puddle and be just fine, because there's a low probability of it having a biological contaminant. Always filter if you can, but if you're in such an emergency that dehydration is going to cause death before Giardia, you may want to take that into account, that you may not have Giardia in this water because it's a mud puddle that has come from a fresh rain. So for me, worst case scenario, the fallback is always boil it. I'm going to take this water, I'm going to put it in my canteen. I've got my little canteen back here, and I'm just going to boil it.
So Tyler talked about this puddle right here and how you can get water from it. I've got a filter on my bag here, my water container, that will filter that water. But the other thing you got to remember is we're not out in the bushcraft. We're not out in the bush. So urban environments offer a lot of different water sources. And if you look over on the side of this building, just behind me, there's a water spigot. And if I'm going to get water, that's where I'm going. So I'm here in my water spigot where I'm going to get hopefully some water out so I can get some water in me to drink and stay healthy on my way back home. But in an earthquake situation where something bad happens and we have a lot of the lines, the city lines, broken up and stuff, this water may be contaminated. So I don't want to drink straight from that. I am again going to use my bug out bag with that filter. You can get a system like this, or you can get a standalone filter, okay, in a bottle that you can filter that water out and put it in a container like that canteen you saw in Tyler's bag. That also works. So we're gonna see if we can't get some water here from this faucet. That's close to a liter of water. This should last me a full day. In weather like this where the sun's not beating down on me, I'm not sweating a lot. If I'm sweating a lot, it's 90 degrees outside, I might use a gallon of water or more, depending on my situation. So you got to think about where your next source of water is going to be, where you're going to get it, and how you're going to filter it. All right, so we're out here in an urban survival situation. Sometimes it's easy to find protein, but not easy to find vitamins to supplement your diet in a survival situation. So we're going to talk about a couple ways that you can find vitamins to kind of help you out during this situation. One of them is dandelion greens. They're not super tasty. They're a little bit bitter, but you can find them in pretty much any lawn out there. And if you live in a suburban area, or even in this industrial area behind us, you can see they have dandelion greens in their lawn. So you're just gonna pick these up. Make sure you get greens that don't have like dog poop around them or things like that that may have stuff on them. You might wanna actually take some water, wash them off before you eat them so that they're clean, but they're good to eat, and you'll get some vitamins. They kind of taste, they have like a bittery taste.
They're nasty.
They're not that bad. But, I mean, if you need food and you didn't pack it because you weren't prepared, dandelion greens. Not as good as the burger I was having at the beginning of the video, but still edible. Day long, so the ground is a little wet. We want to get something down on that ground before we sleep on it so we don't get all wet. Reeds are a great way to go. They'll keep you up off the ground, keep you dry and warm. You lose the majority of your heat in the night from the ground, actually. And so we want to make sure that we prevent that. I'm going to use my Bark River Canadian Camp 2 knife to do a little chopping on those reeds and see if we can't lay a bed down for us. And I'm using my left hand, so don't judge. Once you have a good pile of reeds here, and your scarf doesn't fall off, that was my glamour shot. You're gonna take all those reeds and take them back and lay them down underneath you and make a good platform, just like that.